Hello everyone, and now this is the third part of hernias. The topic we have discussed in last two videos. This is the third part. Till now we have discussed the various types of hernia in general, the classification, the reducible, irreducible, obstructed, strangulated, inflamed. All these varieties we have discussed, how to identify them, the important points regarding them. So in this video in succession we are going to discuss according to our plan, and that plan is specific learning objectives. These are the two learning objectives of this video. And what are these two objectives? At the end of phase 3 means completion of the graduation. And IMG means Indian Medical Graduate. The concerned branches, the concerned courses that is leading to Indian Medical Graduate. The graduate courses related to medical science. The student should be able to explain and identify the pathology of strangulated hernia in an OPD patient, or if a strangulated hernia patient is arriving at some hospital during emergency hours in the triage. The second specific learning objective will be to enumerate and show the clinical features of hernia in an OPD patient in general, right? So these two things we are going to discuss in this video. Let's go one by one. Very important slide. As far as the pathology of any strangulated hernia is concerned, I am saying strangulated hernia because it's an urgent emergency in surgical science. You will have to operate. So if there is some dire emergency, we should act fast, and that's why we should know the pathology behind it. How does it occur? So this pathology is specifically related to strangulated hernia. Reducible hernia is there. It becomes somehow irreducible. Irreducible hernia leading to obstructed one, and simultaneously side by side it becomes strangulated hernia. And how does it happen? This is what we are going to discuss in this part. Now this slide is showing you 9 important words in successive order. Just I am describing it a little bit. The first word is lumen. Lumen means the intestinal lumen. So more commonly this intestine is a part of content of the hernial sac in a strangulated hernia. So this is intestinal lumen, or any lumen for that purpose of any organ, that is tubular or hollow viscous organ. So lumen is the key word in pathology. It will help us. So I'm just going through the key words what we are going to get in the future slides, in the upcoming slides. Then second word is the venous drainage. Whenever this intestinal lumen is being obstructed in a strangulated hernia, the first thing to get affected is the venous drainage of that organ. That will have some effect over that intestinal wall, Again the pressure rises inside and it will lead to affected arterial supply. When the arterial supply is being affected, the intestinal wall tone will be lost and the wall will become friable. That will promote the bacterial transudation, the bacterial infection, the transudative the secretions that will have so many bacteria. So it will promote bacterial growth and bacterial transudation. Is still not relieved, strangulation continues, it will lead to gangrene. You already know, all of you already know what is gangrene, okay? If not, just write in the comment box. In next videos we'll take up this matter. Then after gangrene, it will lead to perforation. Perforation where? Either at the site of constriction where the strangulation is there, or at the antemesenteric border. Antemesenteric border means the border of the small intestine opposite to the attachment of mesentery, that is antemesenteric border. Through mesentery, the blood supply of small intestine or colon that is coming. So this perforation is going to happen either at the constricted area, the constriction ring, or at the antemesenteric border. Gangrene, you have already gone through the discussion. We have discussed in the previous video that gangrene first start with at the constriction site and then antemesenteric border will get involved, right? After perforation, there will be commencement of peritonitis. Peritonitis means inflammation of peritoneum, the peritoneal folds. So peritonitis, after perforation, there will be spillage of the content inside the sac of the hernia, and from that sac of the hernia it will pass on to the abdominal, the intraperitoneal cavity, leading to the various features of peritonitis, and that features will come very soon. We'll discuss that features in clinical features part. So these are the 9 important words, keywords in the pathology of strangulated hernia: lumen, venous drainage, wall, arterial supply, lost tone and friable intestine, bacterial transudation, the gangrene, perforation leading to peritonitis, right? Very quickly we'll go through it. Intestine is obstructed, there is blood supply that is impaired. Initially only the venous return is affected, intestinal wall becomes congested and bright red in color, transudation of serous fluid starts, and the sac will be containing transudative fluid. At this level, if we are going to intervene surgically in a strangulated hernia patient, it is likely that we can save the bowel. Resection, anastomosis of affected bowel may not be required. So this is the best time in an strangulated hernia patient. If he or she has presented to us early, we can save the bowel at this stage, right? This is the importance of knowing the various stages of pathology, how it is occurring. But suppose patient is not there with us, is still not there, no hospitalization till now. so the congestion will increase and the intestinal wall becomes purple in color, from bright red to purple in color. Intestinal pressure increases, the intestinal loop distends. As the pressure rises, it will further hamper the venous return. Again, a cycle is being made, self-sufficient. More pressure, more venous return is being hampered, right? Now what this thing is going to do? It is going to affect the arterial supply. Arterial supply is now being affected, and then what will happen? Blood will come inside the lumen. Effusion will take place. As well as the blood is being extravasated in the subserosal space under the serosa. You must be knowing the various layers of the GI tract. Okay? And finally, the fluid, that transitive fluid that was present earlier in the sac, it will become blood stained. What next? Usually the healthy bowel that shines, that shining serosa will become dull. Why? Because now that transudative fluid has been transformed into an exudate, the fibrinous sticky exudate, and that is responsible for the dull looking serosa of affected bowel. So shining serosa becoming dull now, right? And the blood stained fluid is there in the sac. At this stage, the walls of the intestine, they will lose their tone and they will become friable. Easy tearing is there while operating these type of patients. At this stage, very difficult to handle the small intestine, so friable wall is there. At this stage, patient is in septicemia starting. The bacterial transudation occurs secondary to the decreased intestinal viability, and at this stage the fluid in the sac will become infected, that is infected fluid. Finally, the gangrene, still that strangulation is continuing, the gangrene will appear. Where? At the rings of constriction, and grey in color. The ring, that particular ring, the constricted ring, it will become deeply indented and grey in color. After involving the ring of constriction, that gangrene will involve the antimesenteric border, and depending on the degree of decomposition of blood in the subserosa, it may appear to us from black to green color, the same bowel. Blood in the subserosa, in the last slide we have just discussed, the blood comes inside the lumen as well as blood extravasates in the subserosal layer, and depending on that degree of decomposition of that blood, the color may change. This diagram you must have gone through in the previous video. The involvement of the constricted ring first by the gangrene, followed by the involvement of antimesenteric border. In this act, the mesentery associated with the bowel is also involved and it becomes gangrenous. Still unrelieved strangulation is there, no surgical intervention due to any cause, that will lead to perforation of the bowel, perforation of the bowel wall, where at the convexity of the loop, that is the antimesenteric border, or at the seat of constriction, where the ring is there, the tight ring is there leading to strangulation. In this manner, Finally, after the perforation, peritonitis spreads to the peritoneal cavity via the hernial sac. The sac will get involved, followed by the peritoneal cavity, and all the various features of peritonitis like rigidity and guarding of the abdomen, all these features will appear at this stage with distension of abdomen, as the patient is having strangulated hernia, right? Whatever we have discussed, it is just summarized in this strangulated hernia summary. We'll go one by one. Let's go. The first is the lumen obstruction and impaired blood supply, especially the venous. Wall becomes bright red and transudates appear in sac fluid. There is increased congestion and wall becomes purple. Leading to increase of pressure, intestinal pressure, and loop distance. Again, more affected venous return is there. It leads to arterial supply impairment, leading to blood in lumen and in subserosal space. Blood stained sac fluid is there, and shining serosa becomes dull due to fibrinous and sticky exudates, right? Then what? The intestinal tone lost and it becomes friable. Bacterial transudation and infected sac fluid is there. Now it has started, bacterial transudation. Then what? Gangrene at rings of constriction appears, gray in color. Then what? Gangrene involves the anti-mesenteric border and the color may vary from black to green. Then the associated mesentery that is involved in strangulation, it also becomes gangrenous. Finally, if still not relieved, it will lead to perforation. Perforation at anti-mesenteric border or at the constriction site. Finally, this is the end result. Perforation peritonitis, the setting of peritoneal, the involvement of peritoneal cavity leading to peritonitis features, right? So this is the overall pathology of strangulated hernia, right? Okay. The same slide, what you have just gone through in this video 15 to 20 minutes back. This is the direction of events. The same words, the keywords, the lumen, venous drainage, wall, arterial supply, lost tone, friable intestine, bacterial transudation, gangrene leading to perforation. Finally, it leads to peritonitis. Very threatening condition for life-threatening condition, this peritonitis. So very urgent intervention is required surgically. So these patients should be handled very carefully and urgently. We'll discuss how to manage these type of patients later on. And finally, the second specific learning objectives, the clinical features of these type of patients, the hernia patients. I'm just discussing the important clinical features in general with the specific condition examples also. So most important clinical feature in any patient suffering from or affected with hernia is the sudden pain, the onset of sudden pain. Usually this pain is initially situated over the hernial site, and if it gets obstructed or strangulated, it may be followed by generalized colicky abdominal pain, mainly located at umbilicus level, right? Umbilicus level. Why it is located at umbilicus level? Because most of the time the content of the hernia that is being strangulated or obstructed, that is being affected, is embryologically derived from the midgut, right? Usually pain associated with any midgut structure derivative, the pain is usually localized around the umbilicus, right? Then these type of patients may be having nausea during strangulation, and subsequently the patient starts complaining of vomiting. Various vomiting episodes may be there. So pain, then nausea, vomiting, and the third thing is there may be increase in hernia size. Increase in hernia size as the time passes, the hernia size increases. On examination, in strangulated hernia is usually on the hernial side, the hernia is tense, extremely tender, very painful while palpating. Irreducible variety, we have already discussed what is irreducible hernia, with no expansile cuff impulse. Normally any reducible hernia is having cuff impulse, and that is expansile, means this cuff impulse can be felt. But if the hernia is strangulated, there is abolition of cuff impulse, and we can say okay, there is no expansile cuff impulse, and the hernia, if the hernia site is tense and tender, irreducible, very likely we are dealing with strangulated hernia. So urgent surgical intervention is required. If not operated, these type of patients, if not operated early, the pain continues. Till what time it will continue? Till the peristaltic contractions stops. And the peristaltic contractions, it will cease with the onset of ischemia. After this affected blood supply, it will cease. And when paralytic ileus is there after perforation leading to peritonitis, the septicemia is the next stage. Septicemia develops. Septicemia is very dangerous condition. Most of the patients' death in these type of late presentation of strangulated hernia, it is because of this septicemia. So the key message is always handle these type of patients urgently and very carefully. No need to go for lots of investigations in these type of patients. Only a basic blood investigation, electrolytes, and sometimes if the kidney function test is fine, and if you have the facility of CT abdomen, you can go for it and then just operate after arranging the blood. Even if the CT scan is not available, don't worry. On the basis of your clinical judgment and patient's presentation, you can directly operate the patient just after sending the blood sample and after arranging the blood for blood transfusion. That may be required during intraoperative period or in the postoperative period. The next clinical feature could be, suppose there is a patient presenting with strangulated hernia and suddenly he or she stops complaining of pain. So don't be happy at this stage. It could be a sign of perforation. Perforation leading to decrease in the distension of the abdomen, decrease in the intestinal pressure, and so patient may experience some relief in pain. It could be a sign of perforation. So spontaneous cessation of pain in a patient of strangulated hernia is not good. It could be a sign of perforation. Urgent exploratory laparotomy may be required. So just keywords in strangulated hernias: present with local symptoms, that is tense hernia, tenderness is there, followed by the general abdominal pain and vomiting. Even a normal hernia can strangulate at any point of time. Remember this fact. So few of the students was asking me regarding, sir, whether a reducible hernia can strangulate or not. Usually not, but yes, for the benefit of patient, always consider that even a reducible hernia can strangulate at any time. So if you have diagnosed a hernia, better to go for repair, right? Usually this strangulation is commonly seen in hernias with narrow necks, such as femoral hernias, and they require urgent surgery. Femoral hernia, obturator hernias, all these hernias and hernias with narrow necks, they usually present with strangulated hernias, commonly seen in these type of patients. Richter's hernia, in this Richter's hernia, the patient, rest of the common hernia clinical features, they can be seen, but the important thing is the sac is containing, as a content, sac is containing only a portion of the circumference of the intestine, and usually the small bowel is involved. Richter's hernia. And this Richter's hernia usually complicates the femoral and obturator hernias. You must be remembering the sites for femoral and obturator hernias. Usually complicates femoral hernia. The Richter's hernia specifically, it is called as Richter's hernia if any femoral hernia is having a part of the circumference of a small intestine as a content. Sometimes it may be seen in obturator hernias. Just for your reinforcement, you can see here, this is the site for femoral hernia, right? And this is for obturator. These femoral hernias, strangulation is very common. The strangulated Richter's hernia, the interesting or surprisingly, the important point is usually it is misdiagnosed. Any patient presenting with strangulated Richter's hernia, usually it is misdiagnosed. And why it is misdiagnosed? Because the symptoms are mimicking the gastroenteritis. So this is one of the differential diagnoses of strangulated Richter's hernia, gastroenteritis. And that's why in these type of patient, usually the operation is delayed, frequently delayed. So be very careful. Always have a suspicion of strangulated Richter's hernia if any patient is presenting to you with features of gastroenteritis and some physician is just going through the management part of that patient, not suspecting some sort of strangulated hernia, the Richter's variety, especially in femoral hernia. So what is the take home message? Even if any patient is presenting with features of gastroenteritis, always examine the inguinal site as well as the femoral hernia site. Always examine to rule out femoral hernia if possible. Local signs of strangulation usually not seen in strangulated rectus hernia. Patient may not complain of vomiting, but yes, colicky pain is present off and on. Usually diarrhea is there, and when the paralytic ileus starts, then only absolute constipation complaint is there. And this is why the gangrene of the knuckle of bowel and perforation, these two things occurred before any operation we are going to do in these type of patient. So most of the time perforation is already there while managing strangulated rectus hernia, especially complicates the femoral hernia, right? Some patients may present with strangulated omentocele, means omentum as an content of hernia. The initial symptoms almost similar to those of strangulated bowel, although vomiting and constipation usually not seen. Why? Because omentum can survive even with a very minimal blood supply, in contrast to the intestine. Minimal blood supply is required for the omentum to survive. So usually the constipation vomiting features are there, and onset of gangrene is therefore delayed. And the important part is, if the content is omentum, the gangrene will first occur in the center of the fatty mass, the center of that omentum mass. Okay. Still unrelieved strangulated omentum is there as content. Now the bacterial invasion will start. Bacterial invasion of what? Of ischemic contents of the sac. And finally an abscess will develop. In an inguinal hernia, the infection results in a scrotal abscess. This abscess will involve the scrotum if the content is omentum. But sometimes it may involve the peritoneal cavity also. Means if the movement is towards the scrotal area, it will lead to scrotal abscess. But the other way around, if it is going towards the inguinal ring, the infection will lead to peritonitis. The features of peritonitis. The inflamed hernia. Inflamed hernia means if the content is, let's say, appendix or fallopian tube, that will lead to the inflammation of the sac. As inflamed hernia. If the content inflamed, like in appendicitis or salpingitis. Another method, how does it occur? From external causes. It may, if there is a umbilical or incision due to ulcers dependent areas, yes, leading to inflamed hernia presentation. Tender case tense, and overlying is red edematous. What is it? Hernia? Under cause. The causes we have just treated. If the patient is presenting with acute appendicitis, inflamed hernia, obviously appendicectomy will be possible by the use of hernia. Treatment is based on treatment of underlying cause. And that's for today. To conclude, if we are committed, we can do incredible things for our surrounding. See you in the next video. Thank you.